Hey, everybody, welcome back to Gen X Nation. First things first, I'm going to be doing a commentary real quick on Married to Medicine, but I want to take time to again thank everybody who has subscribed to the channel. Thank everybody who's leaving comments. I do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. Please like the channel. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. I love doing these videos. And I appreciate everybody who just showed me some love and leave comments. I really do appreciate it. So we're gonna go back into Married to Medicine real quick. First thing, after the melee of the first part of the vacation down in Key West, everybody gets up the next morning as usual, and they go through the incident that happened the night before. uh Phaedra and I want to say his name is Check. They got to talking about what happened. Quad and King, of course, they show them in their room, and King and Quad was talking about there some unresolved issues, possibly some jealousy issues between Sweet Tea, Quad, and Greg, and all of that. She didn't like Greg screaming at them, screaming at Sweet Tea in front of her, but it kind of showed the person that Greg was, that Quad was describing Greg to King. So King got a up close and personal view of how Greg actually acts in his mind. Quad said, Greg might have been a little jealous because she has a beautiful, black, handsome man with her, and she's happy. So maybe that's why he has that little anger and resentment in him. I don't know. They also show Sweet Tea and Greg talking about what was going on. Greg did apologize to Sweet Tea for losing his cool, which he should have. Sometimes he said he just get a little frustrated with Sweet Tea because of the age gap with her and all the other women. He expected, I guess, a little more emotional maturity from her, not to get loud and to kind of follow his lead if he asks her to be quiet or whatever. And Sweet Tea's like, hey, I'm gonna stand on business. I'm gonna take up for myself. Um, Also, he felt like Quad was drunk and she was just showing out. Um, then they go over to Toya, Eugene, Dr. Mimi, and her husband Steve. They all shopping, and of course, Steve told Toya, "Hey, you started that. You lit the fire. You started it." And Toya was like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "No, Toya, you did start it. You lit the flame on that one." And then, of course, they go to the three doctors. Dr. Jackie, Dr. Heavenly, and Dr. Simone. And those ladies were sitting there discussing, okay, how's we going to get through this day? Hopefully nothing goes wrong while we're on the boat going out to the Sandbar. Um, and they agreed again that Quad and Greg need some healing. And they didn't find a lot of that stuff that was funny that was going on as far as um, Dr. Heavenly announcing that Apollo will be showing up on the trip, and she was kind of laughing about it. And you could see Dr. Jackie and Dr. Simone's like, okay, this is going to be a straight SHIT fest. I already know it's going to be drama. I don't find anything funny, but hey, if Phaedra knows she's coming, we'll see what happens. Okay, well, let's get into the gist of things. So they all get on the boat. Dr. Heavenly waiting patiently for Apollo to come because, Lord forbid, if Apollo missed that boat, then everything doesn't go off as planned. Now, Dr. Heavenly's initial thing with bringing Apollo in, initial reason was she wanted to show Greg and Quad how two people who are divorced can still get along. That's what she said. Apollo said he wasn't bringing his wife. Phaedra knew Apollo was coming, but she chose to bring the young man that she met at the dating thing that Sweet Tea brought on. She was familiar that he did know her ex-husband, but I don't think she knew the depths of which he knew her ex-husband. Um, so Apollo shows up, and unbeknownst to everybody else, he shows up with his mistress Shireen. Well, excuse me, not mistress, wife, Shireen. So Phaedra was like, again, I didn't know Shireen was coming. Uh, this is kind of messy. Shireen was Apollo's mistress, so she felt it was a little creepy being on a boat with her. But everybody is sitting around whispering. Quad is wondering how Phaedra feels. Check says, "I know Shireen and Apollo." Come to find out, they run in the same circles. They see each other on a regular basis. Simone and Jackie are back there whispering. Everybody's feeling a little odd, waiting to see if something is about to pop off. But I will give Fedra credit. They all decided to just, hey, it is what it is. They started drinking and dancing and just enjoying themselves. But of course, they knew everybody was whispering, about Shireen being there, Fedra being there with somebody, Apollo, and Check was the guy that Apollo and Shireen knew. It was a kind of weird situation. But I'm just going to say this. I'm not understanding, like, do they think Fedra needs approval from Apollo to date somebody? He's a whole married man. And that does come into question later on. So then everybody's, happy. They finally get to the sandbar. They start, getting off the boat and setting up shop where they're going to hang out at or whatever. So as they're sitting there, the guys go off to their little area where they're smoking cigars and having conversation. The women are on the other side doing their thing, having conversations. So as the boys started gathering, they joking around. They asked them, "Hey, y'all want to do the Steve, the football players, like, hey, y'all want to race or do something?" And they did a little push-up thing. Greg went down and did 25 push-ups. Of course, Eugene said, "I ain't doing nothing." And the rest of the guys, they just kind of looked at Greg. They kind of older. They just going to sit back and chill and smoke their cigar. So Greg took it up, upon himself to say, "Hey, let me just apologize. He meant no disrespect with what happened last night, but, the stuff got a little out of hand. Quad just kept talking, and I was just tired of hearing it, and, blase, blase." And so everything was going fine. The guys was happy. They seen them two make amends. And then Greg does the dumbest thing. Well, I won't say dumb. He just said something that just didn't make sense. He said, she was just talking so much. I told her, you need to stop effing talking so much. So he told King that he cussed and shouted at Quad. King didn't hear it when it happened. So Greg could have got away with that. So King said, wait a minute. You said what to her? So it was like, oh my God, Greg, why did you even say that? When y'all dapped it up and squashed it and walked off, you could have just left it at that. And that touched King some kind of way because King said, wait a minute, I didn't hear when you said that. And again, Greg said, hey, he said, I apologize, man. King said, I'm offended and you need to apologize to Quad. So King had been holding this in the whole time. And Greg, said, hey, I feel both sides should apologize. We both was wrong, and I agree with Greg on that. So Cecil and Eugene tried to come in and kind of like smooth it out. Hey, there's a lot of emotional traumas, hurt feelings going on. Can we just let it be and try to squash it? So King was like, okay, as soon as he apologized to Quad, I'm good. So King was holding that grudge the whole time. I'm not knocking King. Quad is his girlfriend. That is his woman. He is trying to ensure that she get the proper respect that she deserves. And he did not appreciate Greg screaming at her and using profanity. And he wanted that to be known. I don't know how Greg felt about it, but I don't think Greg was going to apologize to Quad. He felt apologizing to King was just enough for him. So then we get down there to the beach in the water where all the ladies are laying around in the floaties. And Phaedra's up there taking pictures with her man. Apollo looks over there at her. I don't know if he's looking in admiration or he's just looking to be looking. So then Contessa asks Shireen, so Phaedra's man. And then Shireen made a comment, that's not Phaedra's man, that's everybody man. And then Toya started laughing and everybody's looking crazy. And then Toya says, oh, does he get around? And then she said, I won't say that, but he does, like to have fun or whatever. And then Sweet Tea does try to chime in and say, hey, I mean, they're not seriously dating. They're just out, having fun. And then Check walks over, after that, they're talking or whatever. He walks over and they started grilling him, asking him about do you know Shireen's family? Do y'all do Thanksgiving and I guess Christmas together? Would you be the stepfather of Apollo kids? It kind of weird, all y'all knowing each other and y'all friends. It just went on and on. And Jack wasn't having it. He was like, what do y'all want to know? And eventually he was like, forget it. I'm tired of all these questions. And I think it was irritating the crap out of Phaedra. And at some point, it just got to the point where Sweet Tea just had to stand up and said she got tired of Shireen throwing digs at Phaedra as they was answering these questions. And she got up and said, "Who invited you?" And that's when the brawl begins. Like, of course, Dr. Heavenly, the whole time she just sitting there sucking it in. And Dr. Heavenly said, "I invited her." You know how Dr. Heavenly is. And Sweet Tea called her out on it, and I don't blame Sweet Tea because Sweet Tea said you knew exactly what you was doing, in so many words. Sweet Tea was basically saying you invite this girl to be messy because technically there is no connection with Apollo in that group other than Phaedra's ex-husband, which really doesn't make any sense. But everybody feels like Sweet Tea, is kind of in the same predicament, but it's not because Greg is a doctor and Greg were those family were their friends. So he was originally on Married to Medicine. So Sweet Tea does have a connection. Padre and Phaedra don't have any connection to Married to Medicine other than Phaedra allegedly dated a doctor to get on the show, allegedly. And when the show started airing last season, the doctor disappeared. That's how she got on the show. And I think that was just a jump start for her to get from there back to the Housewives. But in this instance, this is not about Phaedra and being nasty toward Phaedra. In this instance, I felt they was doing Phaedra wrong. And I don't know why they have it out for her. So I can understand, like they said, I think after this episode, she left the show because they was just all in her business. So back to the fight. Sweet Tea, we all know, can't stand Dr. Heavenly, can't stand the sight of her, can't stomach her. And she just started going in on Dr. Heavenly. And then she started calling her, they was going back and forth, and she called her Big Back and Big Bat, BITCH. It was just name throwing, mud slinging. They tried to break it up. The guys looked over and they was like, "Oh God." And one guy said, "That's Dr. Heavenly." I forget which husband said that. So they all run over there and they're trying to break it up. And let me just say this, because it was so much being said, I'm not going to go over everything. You guys probably watched it. I'm going to just say this. Damon would never hold Heavenly, and I like Dr. Damon, his demeanor, his calmness, but he seems like he never holds Heavenly accountable at a certain degree. And somebody should have, I don't know what it's going to look like next week as far as once they wrap this whole excursion up. But I hope Dr. Damon talks to Heavenly because Heavenly is getting out of control on this show and she kind of bringing the show down. Married to Medicine is a show, in my opinion, that is more of an upper class reality TV show. Because, like Simone said, you had a boat full of, what, 8 black doctors on the island, going to a private island by themselves. These are highly educated people, highly educated, intelligent people. And it seems like Dr. Heavenly, I don't know if they just tell her to clock in and create mess, but she loves creating it. Now, I'm not saying it's all her fault. Sweet Tea just got fired up. She probably was still mad from last night. So everything was just going back and forth. They finally kind of broke the young ladies up. And Contessa, like, "Look, I'm trying to take pictures with my $3,000 camera. I'm just glad it ain't me." So while the fight is going on, then King catches Greg on the side and decided, because Greg had pulled I'm sorry, I go back. Greg had pulled Sweet Tea away, tried to calm her down. Phaedra was trying to calm her down. They were just trying to keep her away from everybody else. And you could tell the divide right then and there because Phaedra was the only one over there with Sweet Tea and Greg. And I think Phaedra's date, Check, was over there with her trying to calm Sweet Tea down. Everybody else was over there and with the other, with Dr. Heavenly and the crew. So that let me know, just kind of a signal to me, like, okay, they have separated themselves from Dr. Heavenly and the crew. Mind you, Toya and Shireen, in my opinion, started this whole mess, just constantly talking about Phaedra and Apollo, about Chet ain't, for the streets, and he everybody boyfriend, and Phaedra this. And I'm like, Shireen, I would have kept my mouth shut considering, according to a Phaedra, allegedly, you were the mistress cheating with her husband while she was cheating with Apollo while she was still married to him. So why do you have so much to say? Why do you have so much to say? And I believe currently, if I'm not mistaken, I've seen somewhere on on YouTube or Entertainment News. They have filed for divorce from him cheating on her. So this didn't age well for you, Shireen. So I'm like, why are y'all harassing? Do you want Sweet Tea on the show or not? I'm confused because initially you brought Sweet Tea on the show to get back at Quad. That didn't work because y'all didn't know Quad already found happiness per se. So then when that didn't work, then y'all kind of pushed Sweet Tea off to the side and started letting people attack her. But the first season, y'all was trying to protect her. Oh, Sweet Tea, don't worry about it. You know, Dr. Simone and Dr. Heavenly was all pro Sweet Tea. Toya, y'all was just trying to keep Sweet Tea and get her in line and tell her, show her the ropes and how to maneuver within this group. And then when y'all didn't like the fact that Sweet Tea um, and Dr. Greg wasn't going to do things the way y'all wanted to do it and found out Quad had a man and didn't need y'all, all of a sudden y'all dumped Sweet Tea. And y'all got a really bad habit of doing that on the show. But I'm gonna go ahead and finish the segment up on this fight. The fight ended, not so much ended, but everybody started splitting off, calming things down. And while they was over there calming things down, Greg walked off. King said, let me holler at you. And then another fight ensued. King started getting on Greg about you gonna apologize to Quad. Greg, like, I'm not apologizing to anybody. He confronts him again. I said what I said. Um, Greg is like, look, I told you, I'm not apologizing to Quad. I told you, basically he was just letting him know, hey, I thought this issue was over. King still wanted to pursue it. They started getting into a big old thing. Greg walks off, I guess, to sit down, whatever. King starts running towards Greg, and the guys look up, see them arguing. They run up there. Everybody's running to that direction, and then you can see Quad in the background as he's going off and running towards King, like, no, or whatever. So we don't know how bad the fight got. But once again, King is a nice man. I like him. I know he was fighting for the respect of his girlfriend Quad, and I know Quad appreciates and loves King. She seemed to be very in love with him. But I would just caution King, like, I hear they're not going to film him anymore, but again, I don't know, that's allegedly. But you're like kind of new to the show, and I know you want to make a, a, um, a good first impression, but trying to fight the doctors and stuff, it probably wasn't the best thing to do. I hope no fight actually happened. Hope nobody got hurt. I don't know what it's like next week, but and also that guy, excuse me, Phaedra was dating or brought with her. I mean, I just felt like he was just there for the clout. He knew who Phaedra was. He knew who she was married to. He knew him and Apollo had a close relationship, and he still played along, just like she said he for the streets. I know Phaedra wasn't really seriously dating him, but he got his 5 minutes of fame. That's all I think he was after. King and Quad. I hope they and Greg, I hope they figure something out, and Sweet Tea, and figure how to be in the same spaces. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Sweet Tea's time on the show is up in the air. I like her. I think she's a good person. But once again, um, she reacts to things differently than the other ladies, and I don't think that's going to fit well in the group. Sweet Tea likes to stand on business. She speaks her mind. There is nothing wrong with that. I applaud her for doing that, but that's not how those ladies argue. If you watch that show, those ladies argue in a way that is very sinister but real mild manner. Like the whole time the things were going on the boat and on the island, they're saying shady stuff, but they're saying it just as sweet and quiet. Like, ooh, this is gonna be a mess. Her ex-boyfriend, husband here with his new wife. Yeah, child, you see, they're whispering their shade. Where Sweet Tea just says it out loud, like, hey, who invited her? She don't even need to be here. So that's the difference, Sweet Tea. You got to know how to do that subtle shade. That's the word I'm looking for, like they do. They do subtle shade. And before I wrap this up, I hope, as I said before, this show doesn't go down a rabbit hole, because it is a good show and it's supposed to be a more upper tier, upper class show. It's not supposed to be a love and hip hop medicine or, Real Housewives medicine. It's supposed to be married to medicine. You're supposed to see highly educated, black, excellent doctors living their lives and going through everyday struggles like the rest of us, not fighting, getting drunk, calling each other out their name and stuff. Don't bring the show down. Um, Lesson learned, and this is for Sweet Tea. Remember, on Married to Medicine, one thing they are good at, when they're done with you, they will isolate you, they won't film with you, and they will get you off that show. The first person they did that to, it was Mariah. And Mariah, quote unquote, created the show. Everybody got tired of her for whatever reason, had their issues with Mariah. They isolated Mariah. Mariah's no longer on the show. All right. Anila came on the show. They accused, her house got broken into. She kind of alluded to it was Quad. They didn't like that, Quad being African American, yada, yada. They kind of started isolating Anila a little bit, looking at her sideways. She ain't on the show no more. Buffy. Buffy was the only one came on the show, and she confronted Dr. Jackie for telling her business at that conference they was at when Dr. Jackie was talking about her uh, um, fertility issues. And she confronted Dr. Jackie. They didn't like that. Buffy's not on the show. All right. So, and also, I forget her name, but the dentist, the lady who used to be a dentist, and she was married to the guy. She stopped being a dentist. He was a doctor. I don't know if he was a psychologist or something. And she, decided to stay at home and raise the kids and submit to her husband. And basically, every time they were in an outing, she had to get, like, I guess, approval for him for certain things, or he would correct her when she said certain things. They didn't like that. She was, totally committed to her husband and submitted to him. And they would say little things about her. She's not on the show. So, Sweet Tea, I'm saying that we know Phaedra's walking away. That's already known. Sweet Tea, I'm saying if you want to continue to be on the show, because you have every right to be there, you are married to medicine. If you want to continue to stay on the show, keep that in mind. If they start isolating you, they will get rid of you. They tried it with Quad. Now, even though Quad is good in the group now, remember back at the winery thing in California when Simone them told Quad we want you to leave. Just like, we want you to leave. You weren't, they didn't want you there. That's when they was all pro Sweet Tea. They was comforting Sweet Tea. They was bringing her into the group and all of that. They didn't want no parts of Quad. They sent her home. And that hurt Quad. And then when she came to the shower, prior to that, she came to your bridal shower. They told her to leave. So they isolated Quad and tried to get rid of her at one point. But the audience fought for Quad and said, don't get rid of her. Don't do her like that. She is an original. Even though she's not married, she was married to medicine, and she has a right to be there because we would like to see her maneuver through her divorce, start dating, and go on with her life. Because if not, if the audience, if the viewers hadn't got on Bravo butt, because they seen what they was trying to do to get rid of Quad, trust and believe me, Quad would not have been on that show. So it was the viewers that saved her. So I say this to say to Sweet Tea, look at that. You say you was a fan of the show. You watched the show. You DM Greg, told him you could give him a baby, a wife, everything Quad couldn't. Just focus on doing that. But go back and look at some of those older episodes. If you are a fan of the show, you will remember these things. The one thing about those doctors that they're good at is that subliminal stuff. They're very good at isolating people, subliminally pushing you out, not wanting to film with you, being too busy to come to your events, and eventually you're off the show. All right. It was a pretty good episode, full of a lot of drama. I think Married to Medicine, will be around for a while. I just think they need to get it fixed and maybe cool out on some of the, I won't say ratchetness, but I just expect a little more. We like drama on our reality TV. I'll be honest, that's what we watch it for. But we'll see how it ends next week when they finish the battle in the Sandbar. And with that being said, again, thank you to each and everybody who has subscribed to my channel. I'm trying to get my numbers up. Please share. I do the best I can. I appreciate it. I definitely give comments. I don't ask for any money. I just enjoy doing this, and I hope you guys are really taking it in. Go back and look at some of my other videos and like and subscribe and comment to those too. I did a lot of videos on Love and Marriage Huntsville. That show is very, very draining, and the fans are very they're different. I'll just say that. But I still enjoy the show, and hopefully it comes back. We'll see. But with that being said, you guys stay warm, stay safe, and have a great rest of your day. This is Generation X Nation out. Peace.